Could this trade signal the end of Jrue Holiday's time in Boston? And is Boston really ready for the chaos it could unleash? Something strange is brewing in Boston. After a season that ended not with confetti, but with confusion, the Celtics. Front office finds itself backed into a financial corner. The core that brought glory in 2024 now feels like a ticking time bomb. The reason? The NBA's punitive second apron is about to slam shut, and someone has to go. The name on the chopping block? Jrue Holiday. But wait, how did the heart of Boston's defense, a player who redefined toughness and poise during the 2024 title run, suddenly become expendable? Holiday's $135 million extension was once celebrated. Now, in the shadow of restrictive, cap rules and luxury tell nightmares, it looks more like a trapdoor. It's not about performance. Well, not entirely. Yes, his offensive numbers dipped this past season, but only a fool would forget the value he brings defensively, or underestimate what an offseason of recovery could do for a seasoned vet like Jrue. Still, sentimentality doesn't pay the bills. And when the cost of keeping your core together means sacrificing roster flexibility and depth, something has to give. So here's the trade proposal from Brian Robb of Mass Live that's making noise. To the Dallas Mavericks, Jrue Holiday, plus draft compensation. To the Boston Celtics, Daniel Gafford, Caleb Martin, Jaden Hardy, Olivier Maxence, prosper at first glance. This looks like a value downgrade. 4 names for one? Sure, but none of those names wear a Finals MVP ring. None are multiple-time all-defensive team members. So what gives? Here's where it gets interesting. What if the real goal isn't talent, but flexibility? This trade isn't about star power. It's about depth, adaptability, and long-term survival. Gafford gives Boston the physical presence it sorely lacked in the paint every time Porzingis limped off. Caleb Martin, he torched Boston in 2023's Eastern Conference Finals. If you can't beat him, maybe you do sign him. Hardy and Prosper, high-upside prospects on cheap contracts. Ideal for a team trying to stay under the apron's vice grip. But the real kicker, it opens up strategic options Brad Stevens doesn't currently have. The Celtics are staring down the barrel of a future with no wiggle room, no mid-season trades, no buyout signings, no flexibility. This deal changes that overnight. But is Boston betting too much on uncertainty? Let's not sugarcoat it. Trading Jrue Holiday is a gamble, a massive one. You're removing a player whose basketball IQ has been a backbone of the Celtics' identity. And you're doing it while Jason Tatum is still rehabbing a torn Achilles. That's not just risky, that's potentially catastrophic. What if it's about setting the stage for another move? Clearing Holiday's salary could be laying the groundwork for something bigger. Maybe a shock signing next offseason, or a play for a disgruntled superstar mid-year. Could Stevens be positioning the Celtics for an even more seismic shift? After all, Brad isn't just managing a team. He's playing chess in a league full of checkers. What if the Celtics made one of the worst calls of the Brad Stevens era, and nobody noticed until it was too late? In a league where patience is currency and development is gold, the Boston Celtics might have fumbled both. As the Indiana Pacers surge through the playoffs, one name keeps reappearing in the spotlight: Aaron Nesmith. Yes, that Nesmith, the 14th pick of the 2020 draft. The so-called shooter who never quite found his rhythm in green and white. But in Indiana, he's not just found rhythm, he's found fire. And Boston, they're watching that fire from a distance. Let's not sugarcoat this. Nesmith didn't just play well in Game 1 of the Eastern Conference Finals. He detonated. A 30-point explosion. 20 of them coming in a frantic, heart-pounding 446 stretch that flipped the game and the series momentum on its head. His performance wasn't a hot streak, it was a message. You gave up on me too soon. How did it come to this? Rewind the clock to July 2022. The Celtics, fresh off a finals appearance, wanted depth. They were hunting win-now pieces. Malcolm Brogdon fit the bill, a seasoned high IQ guard who could stabilize the second unit. So, Boston packaged Nesmith with 5 other players and a 2023 first-round pick to Indiana. In return, they got Brogdon for 1 season. Let that sink in. 1. year of Brogdon, followed by a trade to Portland, and now he's a footnote. Meanwhile, Nesmith is starting, shining and evolving into a cornerstone for one of the most exciting young teams in the league. Yes, hindsight is 2020, but this looks like 4K Ultra HD regret. At Vanderbilt, Nesmith was touted as a sniper, hitting 52% from three before an injury shortened his college career. Boston drafted him with visions of elite spacing and off-ball versatility, but in reality, he got just 12.7 minutes per game across 2 seasons. His role? Muddled, his leash? Short. And here's where the mistake begins to crystallize. Celtics fans might remember Romeo Langford getting more minutes than Nesmith. Josh Richardson and Dennis Schroeder, temporary rentals, blocked his development path. Former coach Ime Udoka admitted it. We had those wings in front of him. Translation: we didn't make room. But look what happens when a player is trusted. In 3 seasons with Indiana, Nesmith's scoring jumped to 11.3 ppg on nearly 40.2% from beyond the arc. He's defending top wings, running in transition, and making winning plays. He's not just contributing, he's impacting. And all while Boston still struggles with second-unit scoring and defensive consistency on the wing. What if Boston had been more patient? What if they'd believed in Nesmith as more than a throw-in? Would he be spelling Jaylen Brown now, giving Tatum needed rest? Or defending the likes of Tyrese Maxey or Jimmy Butler when it matters most? This isn't a fantasy, it's a reminder of what Boston actually needs. Look at the Celtics bench right now. Where's the athleticism? Where's the defensive grit? Who's filling that spark plug role when the starters sit? Now ask, wouldn't Aaron Nesmith look pretty perfect in that jersey right now? Are the Celtics too quick to quit on their own prospects? We've seen flashes before. Terry Rozier, Grant Williams, even Robert Williams to some degree. Players who blossom after they leave. The franchise's appetite for development is being questioned in whispers. Maybe it's time we shouted it, because if a team keeps trading away their young talent before they mature, it's not bad luck, it's bad planning. Would Boston really trade Jaylen Brown? The deal that could change everything and tear Celtics Nation apart. What if I told you the Celtics were seriously considering trading the Finals MVP, the emotional engine of their roster, the one player who stood tall in the storm when everything else fell apart? Sounds insane, right? Now imagine they're sending him to the Houston Rockets, and not for a superstar, not for picks, but for potential, unproven, untested, uncertain. That's the kind of idea that gets laughed off, until it's not. And now, deep inside the league's rumor mill, something is stirring, something that could rip the heart out of the Celtics core and redefine their identity for the next decade. So here it is, Jaylen Brown to Houston. In return, Jalen Green, Jabari Smith Jr., Tari Eason, 3 talented young pieces. None of them all-stars. None of them tested on the biggest stage, but all of them cheap, controllable, and promising. The real question isn't, would they? It's why now? Let's start with the money, because that's where this story really begins. If Boston keeps this core intact through 2025-26, they're staring down an astronomical payroll figure nearing $500 million. That's not an exaggeration. That's the reality of Tatum's Supermax, Brown's record-breaking extension, and the stacked supporting cast of Holiday, Porzingis, White, and Horford. The new CBA punishes teams like never before for overspending. Second apron teams can't sign buyout guys, can't trade for big salaries, can't even shuffle the back of their roster freely. It's financial handcuffs. And Brad Stevens knows it. That means someone has to go. Well, maybe they will. But moving Porzingis is tricky. Injury history, inconsistent playoff availability, and a salary that makes teams nervous. Holiday? He's still elite defensively, but aging and on a fresh deal that gets expensive fast. Jaylen Brown, on the other hand, just had one of the best seasons of his career. He's in his prime, he's durable, and most importantly, he still has perceived star value. This isn't just another roster shuffle. This is surgical. This is emotional warfare. Because Jaylen Brown wasn't just a core player, he was the guy who stayed. The guy who didn't bail when rumors swirled. The guy who looked Luka Doncic in the eye in the finals and said, "Not today, Jaylen Brown had his best individual growth season under Ime Udoka. The Rockets coach knows him, trusts him, respects him. That means if Houston's going all in on a star, Brown is their ideal target. It's not just about talent. It's about culture. It's about sending a message to the rest of the league. We're done rebuilding. But for Boston, it might be a Trojan horse moment, because this doesn't just risk short-term chemistry. It risks something far worse: sending the wrong message to Tatum. Tatum and Brown have built something rare, a genuine partnership. Not perfect, not always in sync, but battle-tested. If you rip that in half, you'd better pray your plan works, because the clock on Jason Tatum's patience might start ticking the second the trade is announced.